Hello, all, and welcome back to Larry's Anything Goes. It's Tuesday, so a couple more days before the weekend gets here. I hope all is well in your world. Today, I'm going to talk about financial incompetence. It's a big thing, and a lot of people engage in it on a regular basis, whether they realize it or not. It's a big thing obviously, within the United States. The private and public sector make a lot of money off of people's financial incompetence on a regular basis. Great example. And whenever I love to unwind, I like to watch court TV shows because I like to just laugh at crazy people that do crazy, stupid things for no reason, at the expense of my humor. What are you going to do? But anyways, Judge Toller from the show Divorce Court, she calls it the stupid tax. And I love that saying because it's when people do stupid things and they have to pay a specific amount of money in order to rectify that. Like, what I mean? Hey, I've had a speeding ticket or two, so I'm a person who's had to pay the stupid tax before, so I'm not just talking about other people, I'm talking about myself. But that, running red lights, running through, what is it, the toll roads, things of that nature. Obviously, you do stuff like that on purpose, not by accident, but on purpose. Then you fall in the category of paying the stupid tax. If you continuously get DUIs, you're definitely paying the stupid tax. And if you don't kill yourself or somebody else, then you're definitely most likely going to lose your license and lose your vehicle and possibly all your worldly possessions. So things of that nature. And then another category of mine that I find to be crazy, even in today's era, people having men and women having continuously having babies when they can't afford them. It's the cost of living is not going down anytime soon, and children cost money. Not saying I'm against having children. I'm just saying they cost money, and if you're gonna, after to three, you know how much a kid is going to cost when you continuously bring another one in this world. So if you're continuously complaining about financial matters and you continuously having babies, you need to look in the mirror. But that's just my opinion. It's like I once read a bumper sticker a couple of days ago on the highway at 95, and it said, "If you can't breed them, don't feed them." And I couldn't agree more. So, I'm not trying to get all communist China on, putting a cap rate on how many children people can produce, but I just think there's just a way about doing things in a crazy thing called a responsible manner. Just my opinion, and because we all make mistakes. That's what I say I can relate. We're none of us are perfect. I'm not perfect, never claim to be. But I think once you've made the mistake, if you continuously make the mistake, then obviously you didn't learn from it or you don't care. A lot of people just don't care about the actions that they take because they just get caught up in that good old heat of the moment of what they're doing. So, hey, you reap the rewards and the benefits of that heat of the moment sometimes. Next we can talk about unpaid bills. A lot of people, I'm no stranger to this, so I'm not saying, "Oh, I'm better than everybody else" and all that, blah blah blah. And I don't do that. I don't do that bougie nonsense. But people fall in categories of unpaid bills and the bill collectors. Get a hold of you, and a lot of times they'll put a lien on your car, lien on your house. They'll take your car away from you, and take the house away from you. They'll start garnishing your wages. It's insane because typically it takes about 180 days for especially according to the Urban Institute, it takes about 180 days for your bills to go into collection. So they give you somewhat of a grace period. And I know a lot of times it's people fall on hardship. So there's no perfect win-win situation when it comes to debt, when it comes to bills. Especially because I'm just talking about your bad debt. If you have debt because of a house and because of a business, obviously that's good debt. But I'm talking about bad debt. According to the Washington Post, the nationwide data shows that 33% of Americans hold debt that is currently in collections. 33%. That's insane. Now if it was just said just 33% of Americans who are in debt, I don't think that would be too crazy. But the fact that so many people have debt in collections just an astounding thing. And it says the median amount of people that are in debt collections, the amount of debt is about 1,400 and beyond. So you obviously when it's in collection, it's like an interest rate just keeps piling and piling and piling and piling and piling, and it gets to the point, depending on circumstances, where you can never pay it off. You end up paying those debts until you die, and if you can avoid those situations, I say why not? Because also the national average says about 46% of people whose bills are in collections never ever get paid off. They die in those in debt. bad debt, and then a lot of times, depending on the situation, their spouses or whomever the co-signer might have been for that particular item or debt have to end up paying it off, and it just it's a cycle that just goes up and then it teeters down and up and down and up and down. It's crazy, and what surprised me, because now I'd say probably within the last 10 years we've had a lot of people moving to the South or moving to the Midwest of the United States, because the cheapest parts of the United States always have been, always will be for the most part. And I'm going to do a video tomorrow about gentrification, because I find that to be an interesting subject. And I don't think when people usually talk about that, they talk about that on the political level. And I just want to talk about it from the facts based level, but I'll get into that tomorrow. But anyways, what just surprised me is that the highest debt rates are in those areas, the South, mid, and parts of the Midwest, and even parts of the West Coast. But then what was crazy, it said that the according to research, and this is public and private research, the Allendale County, South Carolina, with a population of 9,433 people, has the highest residents who are in had debts that are in collections. It's insane. And it's at the debt ratio is at 68%. So that's a small town in South Carolina that has the highest debt ratio throughout the country, and people who are have their debts in collections. Insane. But what are you going to do? Financial literacy is not being really taught, and because of that, people have that good old mentality: credit, get it. And when I hear people say credit, get it, I say, yeah, credit, get it, then you die dead with it. But that's just my opinion, And then it's in the saying, it's not just the fact that you have such a lack of financial intelligence going on, but it's just putting people in a box, and because of that box, the good old thing called interest continuously accrues. And then the thing that surprised me the most was that a place in Minnesota, Cook County, Minnesota, with a population of 5,162 people, were considered to have the lowest amount of debt throughout the United States at 6%. And then maybe it's because of the snow and lack of population that's keeping them from buying stuff. You just never know, because you still have some places where the internet isn't as up to par, and technology isn't as up to par as the rest of the country. So sometimes it's like I always call it a gift and a curse, because it might benefit this side and then it might benefit that side at the same time. So that good old small town living is keeping a lot of them out of debt, and then probably a lot of them, which a lot of friends of mine who do live in small towns and cheaper areas of the country, a lot of the smarter people had that thing called generational wealth, where obviously they're passing down things from generation to generation to generation. Mainly businesses and homes. It's like I said, and I always ask people. Talk to my friend Chris about this. Imagine you leaving high school and you're not having to ever worry about paying rent, mortgage, student loan debt. The three things that usually keep people broke or barely head above water or up to their ears in debt. Those three specific things, they never had to pay those items ever in their life. And if they could never even have to work for somebody, because, hey, here, son, here, daughter, here's a family business. Crazy. It's an old school way of doing business. It's considered the 1930s, 40s, 50s ways of doing business. But in 2018, if you don't have to worry about those specific kind of debts, you're ahead of the rest of the working class. But that's and people who are just trying to start businesses. It's like, you're at the head of the class. You're not at the middle. You're not at the back. You're at the head. So I always consider that to be a good thing. But I just found that to be crazy. Generational wealth needs to be implemented back into people's mindset, so they could worry about other things outside of just trying to get a job and keep their head above water and barely make the rent on time. Another one thing, because I was reading an article that related to financial intelligence. It stated that nationwide, nearly 1 in 5 households have medical debts in collections. And medical industry, it's obviously ridiculous. Not talking about anybody bad that works in the medical industry. I'm just saying, as far as the amounts that are charged, especially if you don't have insurance. And nowadays, a lot of people don't have insurance. It's crazy. It's the median amount of debt is usually about $681. And obviously the numbers, vary, or it could be a couple of $1,000. A lot of instances it is a couple of $1,000. And then in the article that I read, the most astounding thing that I found very interesting is that the place that has the people in the most debt within the United States as far as medical debt, that's why the medical industry is going to continuously boom, especially with people living longer, was Louisiana. 30% of the people who have debts, their debts in Louisiana is medical related. And in Minnesota, it's about 3%. So you can see the difference between, which is crazy because it's cheaper to live in Louisiana compared to living in Minnesota. But sometimes it just depends on that whole good thing. Because I always say it's like, yeah, a lot of people, they're moving to the South, they're moving to the Midwest. But if your spending habits suck, and living in an expensive area, then your spending habits are going to suck living in a cheap area. Because guess what? Usually, people who have bad spending habits, if they have more money to spend because the cost of living has gone down, therefore they're going to end up eventually spending more of their money anyways. And that's the thing that's not talked about a lot when it comes to people moving to cheaper areas. It's like, okay, I lived here, I was paying $2,000, $1,500 a month for my rent, and then I moved to this specific state, and I'm only paying $800 to $900 a month for rent or a mortgage, whatever have you. So I got more money to blow. So I'm gonna have the nicest fancy car, which don't mean crap after you buy it. The nice jewelry and rims and blah blah, all this other crap that just makes other people rich who actually produce it, and makes the people that consume it just look like fancy people that don't have any money. Was that old saying called hood rich? Yeah, So, but that's another story. That's not going to fit you the bill. It's not going to help you. Definitely not help your family out if you're in a cheaper area, but you're just spending more money on more crap. And you're not putting in anything that's going to actually produce something, give you a return on your investment, and then some. But it's your money, your choices. I just put the information out there, and for the most part, you do what you want to do with it. That's how I look at it. Because my whole thing is, there's three important things when it comes to anybody's healthy life, and because you could have all the money with the recent suicide of specific individuals. Won't mention any names, but I'm sure you guys know who I'm talking about. I forgot the gentleman's name. It was sad. Had it all. And obviously there was some sort of emptiness inside of him that did not allow him to want to be on this planet anymore. And a lot of people out there deal with that when it comes to mental health issues. And I say there's three things that we should always try to do our best to take care of. We don't have to be super duper hardcore with it, but we should give our best effort in regards to taking care of these three specific things. One is financial health, obviously, because you need money to live. Two, physical health, because if you don't take care of yourself physically, eventually the chickens are going to come home to roost, and then it's just not going to end up in a good situation for you. And then last but not least, your mental health, because if your mind's not right, then nothing else can be right. And you have to do your best to take care of all those three things while taking care of your friends and families around you, because you want everybody else to be in good financial, physical, and mental health. Because the saying always goes, and Master P said it, you can't be around people. If you're trying to do bigger things and better things in your life, and you can't be around the same people that are going to bring you down and that aren't trying to get to where you're trying to go to. They don't even want to even fathom where you're trying to go to. So if you're around a bunch of people whose mental health isn't right, financial health isn't right, and physical health is not as good as it could be, then all those factors can bring you down, because you are the people that you hang around with, at the end of the day. So food for thought, nutrition for the whole brain. Hope you guys have a great day, and I'll see you all tomorrow. Take care.